Abusiani como o channel so ha AGH Politics Avenue. Podcast also make headlines near Jemre na edbi exo money de ho black simo mestok say yanko aye political highways nim. Onya eja dema enye asem koto akra na ne nyina ene say former sanitation minister Cecilia Depaah ena me no kasei. Ejegu ni chema enya asem koto akra na ne nyina ne say sika bi a 8.2 million Ghana city ena fa ne nsase ewo na so ye ho a na nka seska we sei enka omonde ekwa akusisi toilets ade ama timamufo a onua enka efie bia nka bia benya toilet um na nka atimi aboa wo kwan bi so na wohwe nkrata mu a na se dwumadie susuampa omu anye enso sika no allegedly eni ho a onua enye asem koto akra na abadwafo atrase a sansem osi omu etum nkyene mesrok se yenkonsim nim.
Quite a spectacular view. In fact, if you're watching the story, if you're watching what is happening on the Public Accounts Committee, you'll be asking yourself many questions as to what happens. Because this is one of the stories, we've published it on our website. It says the Public Accounts Committee has summoned former public officials over the disappearance of 8.2 million allocated to the Toilet for All project amid claims that key supporting documents have been transferred to the National Archives. Hey, Charlie.
Me say utie ense me koso ho a.
Hey.
Obo be funu, obo fe.
They've transferred. Let me continue the story. In fact, at this point, the person who even said that should have been arrested. Then said the officials, Bright Odro Kwarting and Theophilus Okang, are expected to appear before the committee to account for payments made in 2019 for the construction of household toilets under the then Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources. Briefing the committee, the Minister for Land, Local Government Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Ahmed Ibrahim, said efforts to verify the expenditure have stalled after the officials indicated that relevant documents have been forwarded to the National Archives. He also highlighted a significant gap between funds disbursed and work completed on the ground. According to the minister, although mobilization funds were paid to contractors, no construction work was carried out at the project sites. Ahmed Ibrahim further disclosed the previous administration had initiated steps to abrogate the contracts and re-award it for execution due to the lack of progress. The development drew swift reaction from the committee, with its ranking member Samuel Atamils directing that the officials be summoned to account for the stalled sanitation projects. So that's the part that got me was that they've transferred the supporting documents to the National Archives. National Archives. That alone should get somebody arrested, because there's no way that story should stand. That an auditor comes before you and the auditor asks, what happened to the money? And you say, oh, we've paid the money, but the work is not being done. Then he said, oh, what's your supporting documents? The man says that he's transferred it to the National Archives. That alone should be cause for an arrest. Listen.
Yeah. Tena yelikan yentie Ahmed.
Okay.
Nafi iwia somewhat amos.
Okay.
So no na ye.
Ranking member of the committee.
Okay. Yentie Ahmed.
Truth of the matter is that this transaction took place at the erstwhile Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, and it was under the leadership of Honorable Cecilia Depaah. And I think it was 2019. So even though we are in 2026, it is 10 years, 5 years or 6 years now. So we did our best. But the good news is that the officers who handled this transaction are still at post in other ministries. The director for procurement was one Mr. Theophilus Okang. He is still at the Ministry of Defense. And Mr. Bright Odro Kwarting, he is now director of finance at the Ministry of Trade and Agribusiness. So they are still alive. They are still in public service. And I don't want to be a victim of what the Bible says, that I was made to answer questions for which I have no idea about. Archives, I don't know. The thing is not up to 10 years, and you are taking them, you say that you've been sent to archives. And, Mr. Chairman, we have the names of the contractors here and the contracts. And it has to do with the government policy of toilet for all before 2020. They were giving mobilization, and they didn't go to site. Construction of 300 household toilets in Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, construction of 200 household toilets in Tamale, construction of this and this. The contractors and their names with the amount are here, and we make them available to the committee. You call them, and directors are ever ready to give whatever information you want us to give to you.
Also invite the minister and the current people out there. And wherever the documents are, they will have to come with them. You pay somebody mobilization to go and work. The person doesn't do it, takes the money. Then you come back, you want to abrogate this contract and repackage it and give it to somebody. Now, what I don't understand is the Ministry of Local Government, you were making payments for contracts that you don't have the contracts. You don't have the documents. Anyway, when all of you come, we will do it live.
I see. They don't have the contract. And they said they've transferred the documents to National Archives. Okay. It's not like as if National Archives is a place you can trace documents and find them. So I think whoever transferred the documents should be sent to National Archives to find the documents. But we are talking about 8.2 million cedis that has been spent, paid to a contractor. And they can't find, purportedly spent, they can't find the supporting documents or the document that back this expenditure. This is for toilets, so household toilets that they spent. So the money has been spent, but we do not have the supporting documents. I think in some cases, this matter has become very difficult to talk about. Because when people go before the Public Accounts Committee, a committee where you are not supposed to essentially lie, because I think one of the things the Public Accounts Committee should also do is to verify this claim. The claim of the fact that they have transferred the document to National Archives and see if this is true. Because I hear that you're not supposed to lie before these committees, that just as you're not supposed to lie before a court of law. This is only one. It's only one of the issues. There have been several issues, including an attempt to build a separate clinic for members of parliament. It's also another one. So there are a couple of issues that have come before the Public Accounts Committee. We're hoping to get a few people to speak to on these issues and have a quick conversation on what is happening before the Public Accounts Committee. Show that SM, sometimes when you're watching the Public Accounts Committee, it's as if you go there to either learn. Is it learn? Sometimes it becomes a form of entertainment rather than a serious hearing.
Yeah.
Because you really will sometimes watch and wonder. So what happens? Whatness. After they've said these things, whatness. Imagine if somebody, if it was your money and they told you this story. But it's all government money. It's government money, so this one you will take it like that. Then somebody can just tell you that we transfer the document.
Procure services, and then you can procure work. So you have an occasion where, or a situation where what is going to be procured is not a good.
Okay.
It's not, there are no goods that you can just walk to the market and they are services.
Okay.
And so if they are services, the entity or the committee is supposed to go into the market or the industry to, as it were, convince itself to say that, look, what we are going to purchase, it is only radio gold that has the expertise to do that.
Okay.
Okay. Now, and that is the reason why they are likely to move with the traditional position of the law. That is the competitive tendering, and say that we are going for sole sourcing or we are going for single sourcing.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I see. That's interesting. So you said 3 things can be procured
Yes.
under the law.
Yes. 1, service,
So goods, services.
goods, or work.
Okay. So goods, services, or work. Those are the things that can be procured under our procurement laws. Now, what's the difference between services and works?
Okay, so services, sometimes you can, for example, the cathedral, the National Cathedral. You have a situation where we were told in this country that David Ajayi, the one who drew the plan.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was providing more of services. I mean, as a consultant.
Okay.
That is his area.
Okay.
And some of those things, when it comes to people with the expertise, it's not everybody.
Okay.
It's not everybody. So the entity committee would have to go into the market and see who is this person, or which companies in the system have what it takes to, as it were, be awarded this contract. And there are a lot of factors the committee will look at. Number one, they will look at the company.
Okay.
So procurement is not awarded to just individual. Normally, it's a company.
Okay.
They will look at that company. They will look at the management of that company. They will look at their finances, because there are occasions where contracts or procurement projects are awarded, and you should have that financial muscle as a company to start to pre-finance before government will say that okay, and the payment from government is structured.
Okay.
Maybe they can say that before you take off, we'll give you say 1/10, or as you in the middle of the project, we'll go, and before the second payment or other subsequent payments are made, government will have a technical committee that will go for inspection of what you have done, and once they are satisfied, then they will say that okay, let's go with the second tranche of payment. So it's a whole process that has to be followed.
Okay. So let me just so that I clarify some clarity on this matter of works and services. So if let's take the presidency itself, big place. They are looking for someone to do cleaning services.
Yes.
So I have put services alone. So that's a service that they are offering.
Right.
Okay. But if they need to put up a new structure, does it goes under works?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. And the key thing here is it's just not a work. Because one of the entities' responsibility is to ensure that whoever the project is awarded to, right, has what it takes.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, the essence of the act is to have value for money.
Okay.
Okay, so you just don't award contract when you know that the person doesn't have what it takes to, as it were, execute the project or the contract.
So the basic aim of this law is to ensure that the people of Ghana get value for money. Every penny spent.
Absolutely. And you are able to account. I don't know whether you watched, I think yesterday or 2 nights ago, I watched PAC, Public Accounts Committee, where the director of procurement at Defense.
I think that was even yesterday.
Okay, right. Yeah. Where he gave, he used the word suggested, okay, but the understanding that I had that the committee had was he ordered.
Okay.
But he said he didn't. He advised. But if you look at even the advice he gave was so alien to the rules of the game.
Okay.
You understand that? So, first of all, before one assumes that position as a head of procurement department in a particular institution, you might have read the course, you might have done that, you must understand what it means, how it operates.
Okay.
Otherwise, you
need to understand the law to occupy such a position.
In fact, when you are head of procurement in a particular institution, in my opinion, you at 663 must be just here. You should appreciate it. You should understand. Because at the end of the day, the boss will stop with you.
Okay.
If you look, you see clearly yesterday the demeanor from the chair. He right away he said that he was recommending the director for a prosecution by the AG. All right, because over the explanation that he gave, you could not really understand what actually engineered that decision or that advice that he gave.
Okay.
And so much money, from what I heard yesterday, about 4.8 million. That is not for children. You understand that? So for you to give that advice, as he rightly put it, for you to give that advice for that money to go down the drain, that's a big issue. Big issue. And let me also say that a lot of procurement issues that we have in this country, it might not be that the individual cited in the industry or in the process, it might not be that they personally, as it were, had taken money or embezzled money, so to speak. But because they did not have the expertise, they don't really understand what it means. So some of the things that they don't even have to approve, some of the things that they have to peruse well, they overlook it. And at the end of the day, the state will suffer.
And everything has to be done within, guided by this law.
Yes.
So if you act outside this law,
Yes.
you'll be in trouble.
Absolutely. In fact, there are occasions, and I like this question. The truth of the matter is that it is not possible that the entity will always get it right.
Okay.
It is not possible. Sometimes you will go into the market, you survey the market, and you are very much convinced that this is the right company to execute this project, and you award a contract. But in the process, there'll be a mess somewhere. But the thing here is that you should be able to satisfy yourself that you are within the law.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, if somebody is to chase you, he will chase you based on the law.
Okay.
The law says this. Did you do it? Once you have done it, then there's no question for you to answer. But if you are not able to satisfy the law as to what you ought to do, then what it means is that the law will chase you and will come after you.
So you must always act within
Absolutely.
the procurement law.
Absolutely.
Okay. So give us an idea. You were just trying to paint us a picture of what happens typically. What is supposed to happen? Because you talk about the entity tender committee.
Right.
Okay.
So basically this is what happens. If, for example, a procurement is to be done.
Now, let's say we are buying water.
Good.
For a state institution.
Very well. So you are buying, say, water worth, say, 100,000. What will be done, first of all, a committee will be constituted.
Okay.
And when that committee is constituted, the committee is given the do's and don'ts. Don't forget that the members of the committee, they are not lay people. They are experts.
Okay.
So if they are supposed to do 100,000 a procurement or purchase, this committee will sit there and say, okay, when it comes to the water industry, who are those? What are the companies that, as it were, would can do this job? If they are going to go by the competitive tendering process, which is the normal thing that is done. The competitive tendering process, that is to say that now they will open it up to the public by advertisement. They will advertise the purchase or the procurement process that they are going to go through. Now, when they do the advertisement, interested and qualified companies will apply. Okay, they will bid for the project or the contract. When they bid for the project, now the committee will sit again and do shortlisting.
Okay.
So, for example, the practice is they will do like 3 out of the several companies that will apply.
Okay.
They will do 3. So when they do 3, they will go back into the 3 and pick the best one out of the 3.
Okay.
When they pick the best one, they will write to that qualified company and say that, well, upon our ABCD, we've realized that, or we've come to a conclusion that you are the most qualified, therefore the contract is going to be awarded to you, and all back and forth. Now, when the contract is awarded, the contract will be awarded in stages, depending on what is to be procured.
Okay.
Okay. So they will tell you that, well, we are going to give you, say, the amount is 100,000 Ghana cedis that we are supposed to pay. But first of all, we will pay, say, 40,000 out of the 100,000, when the water is delivered to the site, we'll pay the rest. Or I mean, there will be there is always negotiations. There are negotiations in the project or in the whole process. So when that is done and the work is executed, then the rest of the money is paid. The purchase aspect is very simple, but if it has to do with provision, you are providing services like road constructions and what other complex situation, then it becomes more tedious.
We and some of the team course or channel so I'm in our so Jim Red as soon as over in the Dumbi Edomania. Uniam, Ebersing Asia.